Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to install and configure ESXi and vCenter server appliance. Now before we start here, I just want to show you what I've done already to prepare for this video. So I have two servers, both running Windows Server 2016. One of them is my domain controller, and this just has Active Directory and DNS installed on it. And then I have another server which doesn't really have any other configurations other than the static IP address, which we'll be using later on for vCenter server. And these are all connected to the same switch. I haven't yet created the ESXi server, but I'll be showing you how to do that now. So to be able to do this, I'm actually doing it within vCenter server itself because I don't have the spare hardware at home to be able to do this. So just ignoring these ones down the bottom here, these are the two servers that I was just talking about, my domain controller and the vCenter server, which doesn't really have a lot on it yet. So now we need to create the ESXi host. So we just select new virtual machine. And the default option, give it a name, I'll call it ESXi. Choose a location. Here I'm just going to select the compute resource. And now where to store the virtual machine. Here we'll just leave this as ESXi 6.5. And for the operating system, we select Other, scroll right down to the bottom, and select VMware ESXi 6.5. Now we're choosing the virtual machine's hardware. It depends on how many virtual machines you are wanting to run as to how much power you need. So in this case, I'm only going to be possibly creating one later on, so I'm just going to give it 2 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, a 150 gig hard drive, which I will put on thin provisioning, check that it's on the same switch as the other two servers, and now I just need to select the ISO, which is just, if you're doing this on a physical machine, you just be putting in a CD or your USB stick. Now since this is going to be running ESXi, we need to just change the CPU settings here and select these two options to expose it for virtualization. Then we select Next and Finish to create a virtual machine. Now the virtual machine is finished being created, we can go ahead and select it. Just right click and power on the machine. Now to view it, you select Open Console. Now this opens in VMware Workstation for me. Depending on what you're using, it may just open in your browser window. So now we can see here it is beginning its setup, so we'll just let that finish off and I'll get right back. So now we can see it's finished setting itself up, so we can begin the install. So I'm just going to go into full screen mode here and press enter. And then F11 to accept the terms and conditions, or if you're using a virtual machine, it's function F11. And now this is asking me to install it. That's the hard disk we gave it, so that's fine. We'll just press enter. And your keyboard layout. Create a password for the ESXi. And then F11 to begin the install. Now once this is completed, I'll continue on with the video. Okay, so we can see now ESXi has finished installing. So to continue setting it up, we just need to press F2 and enter our password that we set up. And now all we really need to do in here is just set the network information on the machine. So we'll go down to Configure Management Network, press Enter, and then go into IPv 4. I am going to be using a static IP address, so I'll just press space to select that and type in the IP address I want this machine to have. And I'm not going to worry about the default gateway because I don't have one in this environment. And then enter. We also need to tell it about our DNS server, so just go down to DNS configuration, and I'll type in the IP address of my DNS server and set a name, and then enter. Now if we escape out of that and press yes to restart the network, we can now scroll down to Test Management Network, and we'll just ping the DNS server to make sure it is working. Perfect. So that's all the configuring we need to do in there. So now ESXi is being configured, we need to install vCenter server on our Windows server. So I'll just go over to my server and open it up. I have attached the ISO file to install vCenter server. So we'll click on this and then click install. Now this does take a little while to come up, and this install process does take about 20 minutes to fully complete. So I'll jump right back into it when it requires more input from the user. Okay, so now the setup has initialized. We'll continue and click next. Let's set the terms and conditions and click next. And we want to select embedded deployment here, then next. And the system name, that's correct, so next. And now here we just need to set a password. And then next. And just use Windows local system account. And then next as well. And just leave the port settings as is and next. And same with where it's going to install next. I don't want to join the VMware Customer Experience program, and then next. And it'll just confirm the settings that we've chosen, and then click install to begin the install. Okay, so now vCenter server has finished installing. We'll go ahead and go to our web browser. And type in the address of vCenter server, which is your server name, followed by your domain name, .com. And here it brings up asking if you want to use the Flash version, which obviously you need to have Flash installed, or the HTML version, but the HTML version is still in development, so we'll just go ahead and use Flash. And we log in with the administrator account. And here we are, we're now signed into vCenter server, but at the moment we still haven't connected our host to it, so there's not a lot we can do other than set that up. So over on the left side here, right click and go new data center. and we'll give it a name. And by the way, sometimes when you go to type, it doesn't always seem to register, so if you click in the address bar and then back into the box, it'll do it. And then go OK. And now on that data center we've just created, we can right click and go add host. And here we want to enter the host name or IP address. And then the username and password. And we'll confirm the certificate. And then next through here. And we'll just use an evaluation license key. If you have a key for it, this is where you would add it. If not, you can also add it later. And we'll leave that as disabled. And that's the right location. And then finish. And you can see down the bottom here, it's just adding the new host. And there we are. We now have our host showing up on the side. You can see under summary, it's picked up everything, the processors we set up, the RAM, the storage. And from here, you can do things like, so you can right click and run a new virtual machine off that host or multiple. I mean, with vCenter Server, it really is quite powerful. You can do a lot. You can add more ESXi hosts and set up balancing between them, have things use vMotion to transfer virtual machines from one host to another while someone's using it. Yeah, it's a very impressive program. Oh, well, that is all for my video. Thank you for watching.